10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, Wrestle Talk Podcast. Welcome to episode number 503. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are on our way here tonight, and we got Gary Night Train Jackson with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So that is going to be a heck of an episode. I can't wait to talk to him. Former WWE, former WCW, just absolute best guests around, let me tell you. So looking forwards to that. But as always, I am not here by myself, not at all, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and get my first co-host in here for tonight. He is the one and the only Gabriel Arsene, ladies and gentlemen.
Wrestle Talk Podcast family, what's up, folks? Hardcore Hoss, it's good to see you. Seems like just yesterday we were on episode 502, but we're back on that grind on the way to episode 600 tonight. We got a very, very special guest lined up, ladies and gentlemen, and I am excited to meet him. We also have a lot in the world of professional wrestling here, don't we, Hardcore Hoss? You know, a lot happening in the world of WWE. Can't forget the FWWC, of course. As you can see, we are always carrying these bad boys. But Hardcore Hoss, how you been?
Hey, I am doing good. Happy to be here. Just so excited for tonight. And I know that you are as excited as I am. And we got the Night Owl checking in on us tonight. You know, he is our executive producer, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, we getting praise from him. So that's always a good thing. And so just really, really looking forwards to everything tonight here. But, you know, as always, we definitely would not be here without our great and wonderful sponsors. So we definitely want to give them a shout out. You know, we've got Retro Zone, Painter Dream Productions, St. Louis Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Little Popeyes Designs, where you can get your very own Wrestle Talk Podcast tumbler, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group, ladies and gentlemen, that myself and Gabe were both a part of the FWWC. You see these lovely, lovely titles over our shoulders. They are custom-made titles that you can win in the FWWC. So you win them, then they're yours until you lose. Once you lose them, then you got to ship them out to the next person. But, you know, we have a good time in it. We'll talk more about the FWWC later. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we have something new here. We have fan sponsors, which are fans who want to sponsor the show, because we had people who stepped up and said, Night Owl, when he made the call, they said, Night Owl, we don't want the show to end. We'll do whatever it takes, even if we have to contribute. So Susie Haas was our first fan sponsor. If you would like to be a fan sponsor of the show, hit up one of the cast. We'll get you set up. Let us know. And also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can send us stars if you are on Facebook. Be sure to send us some stars, and we'll definitely thank you for those. I know we've had Anthony sent us stars. We've had Susie sent us stars. So, we've had stars coming in, and we thank you for those. And also be sure to share the show because, you help us out by sharing it and getting the word out to others. So I think I've hit everything there. So, and Night Owl says he's honored to be a small part of the Wrestle Talk podcast legacy. Hopefully we'll have a better showing than old Iron Mike tonight.
I felt like we couldn't have avoided that. I know we all know that Mike Tyson is linked with wrestling, but this is not.
Gabe, we lost your audio.
Oh God, really?
Now you're back.
Did it cut off in the middle, or was it just off completely?
No, it cut off in the middle.
Oh, what the heck? Okay. Well, we'll try to avoid those issues going forward.
But Night Owl, you said a small part. You are not a small part of the Wrestle Talk podcast legacy. You are a huge part of our legacy here at Wrestle Talk. And, we wouldn't be where we are today without yourself. And, Joe Lance, an OG of the show that started it, and Rick Rose. And, so there is no small part to this show, in all honesty. We would not be here without you guys. So definitely thank you. Shout out to Jimmy Harris checking in. Always glad to see Jimmy Harris. And of course, the fan sponsor we were speaking of earlier, Susie Haas, checking in. So, always great to see them. But, we got to keep things rolling here as we always do. And, Gabe, I think it is that time. So many people, we get mixed responses out of this. We even get some people who say, why do you do this? But, it's actually a combination. One thing we like to show that we care about our country, and so by playing our national anthem, it does show that we appreciate our country. But at the same time, yes, we know there are better versions of the national anthem out there. But we also like to show how lighthearted we are and how much fun we can be here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. So, no, we're not going to have Frank Sinatra or Garth Brooks or anybody else sing the national anthem. It is left to people like Roseanne. So, if you would please remove your hats, place your hands over your hearts as we pay homage to the best damn country around, being America. Brings a tear to your eye every time, or blood to your ears, one of the two. I know somewhere right now, Jeremy Carp is probably just having an absolute aneurysm.
I just want to take the opportunity to bring that comment back up because can we get this trending, please? Wrestle Talk Podcast family. We got to get this tweet. We got to get this hashtag trending. Hashtag ears bleed for Roseanne. But now with that taken care of, John Haas, we have a lot to cover here in the Wrestle Talk podcast tonight. But I feel like we're missing one thing, possibly.
Nothing goes better with our national anthem and paying homage to our country than paying homage to the one who created us. And so, with that being said, let's get the man in here himself. He is our chaplain here at the WTP. He is also the man behind Painter's Dream Productions, and you may see him host from time to time as well. He is the one and only Big Daddy P.
Hoorah!
Big Daddy P, how you doing tonight?
Well, I got to be careful at my age. I could break a hip doing that. It used to be much easier when I was younger.
You're only what, 42?
53.
Oh, we'll see. You look 42. So
how old are you?
We won't go there.
I'll see you in about 10 years. What
called his bluff immediately.
This last quarter, as far as entertainment is concerned, has been incredible. I mean, I was concerned that Mike Tyson was going to be really hard on Jake Paul. I really did. I think he smoked a little too much and did a little bit of mushrooms before he went out. But that's okay because he got his $20 million and he made it 8 rounds.
Yes, he did. He certainly made it 8 rounds, but it was not the outcome a lot of people expected. But looking back, how could we not have expected that Paul was going to win that?
Well, again, it was his promotion. I mean, is there any other promoter that you know who booked 65 million views on Netflix? I don't think so. So say what you want, but as a promoter, he bitch slapped every one of you because he is a great promoter. That women's fight was the best boxing match I've seen in my entire life.
But Netflix was not ready for that.
But listen, thank goodness they had that test. So before January comes and Netflix and WWE comes on, we don't have to put up with that. I mean, that was I think they did that on purpose. I think they knew that was going to happen. I don't think Jake Paul knew that was going to happen. And I'm sure it cost Netflix a pretty penny.
Well, and now you have some NFL football games that are going to be coming on Netflix here soon as well.
So let's see. Go up against Endeavor, the NFL, or Jake Paul. Oh, okay. Let's use Jake Paul. And that's exactly, and he didn't care. He still collected money. And Netflix isn't going to give any of us a free month of service. It's not going to happen.
No,
that only happens once, that problem. That won't happen again.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully they get their ducks in a row before they start getting more live programming on there. But they certainly weren't ready for this one.
And before we get into any other conversation, I just want to say on November 5th, we dodged a bullet, whether if you know it or not. God spared America. That's all I can tell you now. You might not understand, but in time you will. So I don't want to get political. I don't want to get religious. I just want to get spiritual up in this house.
That's right, because no matter who you voted for, no matter who you were pulling for, God is still on the throne, and He is in control, and that's why
He's the one who places them in. It's what He says. He says, "I put in kings, I take out kings." Now, granted, He's a president, but it's talking about leadership. I mean, think about it. some of the leaders that have been in your life that you didn't follow because you thought you knew it all? Hello. So God knows what he's doing, and I'm thankful that he continues with Wrestle Talk podcast, that week in and week out, the show continues to grow, not just by people anymore, but now financially, which is good because now the people have spoken that they want Wrestle Talk, not Renee. So even if Renee said, we're not going to do it, well, Renee, guess what? The people chose, so shh, be quiet. And you know I love Renee, so it's out of his hands. That's why this had to happen, because it was in his hands, and God said, I'm going to put it in the people's hands and watch what happens. And bam! So they won't have anywhere close to, yeah, right? That's true, they won't. But again, it was a great test.
So, Big Daddy, why don't you go ahead and drop that snippet on us, and then we'll get a little prayer in here, and then we'll start talking some wrestling.
Okay, I'm going to need Gabriel's help on this one. Would you do me a favor? And did you ever see the movie A Few Good Men?
I need a refresher.
Hoss, how about you?
Gabe has never seen.
Yes, I have. Okay, I'm sorry. I needed to clarify.
I was getting ready to say, if you've never seen A Few Good Men, what damn cave did you crawl out of?
I had to clarify. I got it mixed up with a No Country for Old Men. That's why they both have men in the title.
Well,
so
there is a quote that Jack Nicholson says when Tom Cruise wants the truth. And Jack says to him, you can't handle the truth. And today, there are a lot of people who can't handle the truth. And how we know that is by their behavior, not what they necessarily say. So just because they say one thing is one thing. It's now, how are they going to act? And I think the greatest snippet of truth today that I can discuss is in relations to a pilot. Now, imagine you're taking a flight from LA to New York, and you get into you walk into the plane, and you knock on the cockpit's door, and you say, excuse me, Mr. Captain, I just want to know that you're able to land this plane and to take off. He said, absolutely. He says, well, if you need any help, you just let me know. The captain says, are you a pilot? He says, no, but I think I can fly this plane. He says, don't you worry, sir, I'll get you there safely. Now, let's say there's a little bit of turbulence. And I go up and I knock on the door and ask if everything's all right. The fact remains is I'm not in any position to tell the pilot how to fly that plane. He's the pilot. He knows I'm either going to live or I'm going to die. It's pretty straightforward. So I want to encourage you today that if you're trying to fly the plane, good luck with that. You can't. We only have one pilot. His name is the Lord. He's the one driving. But what we can do is we can do the same thing that the Bible talks about the disciples who were in the boat during a great storm. And that great storm was taking place. Water was slushing everywhere. Wood was breaking off the boats. And they turned around and they saw the Lord Jesus Christ in the back of the boat. He was sitting there sleeping. And they woke him up and said, aren't you worried that we're going to perish? He said, you have little faith. Don't you realize who's in the boat with you? So I want to encourage you today that even though you think you're swimming alone, or you're in life alone, or you're trying to climb the ladder of success alone, I want to remind you that he is not only with you, but the only reason why you're breathing right now is because he says yes. So I just want to encourage you as you prepare for the last quarter, the last 2 months of the year, month and a half, we got Christmas coming up. So now the stress is going to start acting up because you got to buy everything for everyone because it's all about gifts. But I want to tell you, it's only about one gift. It's the greatest gift. It's the gift of salvation. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Matter of fact, where were you when Christ died on the cross? You weren't around. So you have nothing to do with it. But you have an opportunity today to hear the good news of what God did. He loved the world so much that he put on a human suit and came down here and died for you. That's the good news. So no matter what you're going through, no matter how difficult life is, financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in sickness, health, in every situation, it's one thing to believe in God, and it's another to believe Him. So I want to encourage you today to continue to trust Him with everything relating your life, because the moment you put Him first and you begin to seek Him and you begin to obey, it isn't just about trusting God, but obeying what He says to do. Now, we who have been in the Bible know that it says to love one another. So I just want to encourage you that even if you're upset who won the election, it'll be all right. You'll make it through 4 years, or God will take you home. Either way, you're going to win. So relax, chill out, and let that snippet of truth sit and reside in your soul so that when something goes wrong tomorrow, you remember what I said today.
So very true there, Big Daddy. So very true.
So don't be a pilot. Jesus, take the wheel. There's a reason why Jesus takes the wheel. He knows how to drive. We don't know how to drive. We don't have all the facts. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Anything can change overnight. Boom, 1 second, gone. But in the meantime, any prayer request?
Well, I haven't seen any come in. I mean, if you have a prayer request, be sure to drop it in the comments or something so that we know. But I haven't seen any come in yet. But you know, one thing I will tell you, quick praise is, you know, I had mentioned a little bit back to you the girl Haley that had been in an accident. She actually now has recovered to the point that she is eating solid foods. She is
Awesome.
drinking. They were sending her to a rehab facility where she's working 6 days a week on her rehab. But before they sent her, they asked her, was there anything that they could do or anything that she wanted before they went? Because the rehab facility was going to be a little travel for some of them that came to see her. And she actually asked them for a pizza party. Now, this is a girl who was on death's bed.
Yeah, right.
Not very long ago. But now she's gone from death's doorstep to having a pizza party. And my understanding is not only did they give her a pizza party, you know, they were playing music and she was kind of dancing around to the music and singing and talking and all this from somebody who they didn't know if was going to make it through the night when she first went in.
I mean, talk about an attitude of gratitude, right? I mean, she's on death's door and she knows it. Her life flashes before her eyes. The next thing you know, she wakes up with a whole new appreciation for life because she's seen the possibilities or the thought of death. And we don't need to be afraid of dying. I'm letting you know that it's fear is okay. It's normal, but living in fear is not.
So, but why don't you go ahead and just, you know, do a blanket prayer over us as you always do. And, you know, for those who didn't get their prayer requests in or whatever,
God knows.
God still knows. So
He's got it. Absolutely. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your goodness and grace and all that you continue to do. For there are people who went to sleep last night. They didn't wake up today. Their families had to make arrangements that they thought they'd never have to make. And because you've taken them home, but you've kept us here, and it's not a coincidence or an accident. I thank you that in the days of trouble, you tell us to call upon you, that your promises never fail, that your faithfulness will never fail, and that your word will endure forever. And these promises that we have, we thank you for giving them to us. May we continue to rest in them. You know the request of each and every person. If there's anybody here right now listening to my voice who hasn't tried the Lord, try him. I promise you, he's not going to let you down. Matter of fact, you're going to ask yourself one question. Why didn't I do it sooner? And the reason why you didn't sooner is because it wasn't the right time. For we know that the Lord has a time for everything. a time to live, a time to die, a time to mourn, a time to be happy. But we know that in the days of adversity, when things are not going right, it's not so easy to praise you, Father. So I pray that by the power of the Holy Spirit that is in each and every believer listening to me right now, that when they don't have enough energy to even pray, that you would give them the strength and energy and will to not only ask you for all the things that they need, but to know and trust that we do this every day. And it's not something that's done every month. It's every day we should call upon you and seek you, because you've got such a wonderful plan for this country and for those that are around the world. I thank you for those who are going to give you a try. Father, you know who they are. You know their heart. You've been waiting on them. And I thank you for your patience and for your faithfulness. I love you so much. And for those who have requests that didn't let us know, you know who they are. Meet them at their needs. Continue to bless and guide them according to your will. And I ask these things by the power of the Holy Spirit, in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, in whose name I pray. Amen.
Amen. You know, so Big Daddy, we definitely appreciate it. You want to stick around and hit a hot spot or two with us before you go? And
I would love to hit. I'm really good at hitting the hot spot, so I'm all for it. Bring it on. I love answering these questions.
All right, sounds like a plan to me. So let's go ahead and get into some high spots here. And shout out to Assad checking in, and shout out to Barbie Ann. Thank you guys for being here. And as always, like we said earlier, be sure to share this program. And we also want to thank those that are checking in, you know, watching the replay. We thank each and every one of you, because, you know, you're important to the Wrestle Talk family, no matter whether you're here live with us or replay with us. We just thank you, and it means so much. So let's go ahead and let's get into some high spots. So hit it, DJ Money.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like clear chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop, and non-stop like a runner speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops, like a clock flash, feel like a barely flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know we about to start the show.
All right, DJ Money hitting hard as always. You know, gotta love that DJ Money intro. Thank you to him for making that personalized music for us here at the Wrestle Talk Podcast. And for anybody else out there who might have a band or something, you know, if you're feeling generous and you think, hey, you know, maybe this segment that they do, you know, maybe the game or, you know, shoot and shout, whatever, you think that it needs some music and you think you guys can come up with something for us, hit us up, let us know. You know, we'd be love to hear it. So by all means, let us know. But let's go ahead and see if we can't get this randomizer fired up and get a few questions in here before we get Gary Night Train Jackson on here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and hit that randomizer. All right, our first question. Let's see. We got John Cena and Orange Cassidy. I mean, what can we possibly ask about these two? I don't think they got a match or anything coming up. So, in media interviews, many people have called Orange Cassidy the John Cena of AEW. Do you agree with this? Yeah, Big Daddy, we'll let you start us off here.
Well, I'm not a fan of Orange Cassidy, which is publicly known. But some of my greatest booking friends love him, think he's the best, like Joe Hendry, same thing, kind of like I'm not into it. And I guess I don't have enough information about Orange Cassidy to know. Does he show up at every show? Does he spend time with fans? Does he do Make-A-Wish? Does he go? I mean, I don't know if he does all the things that John Cena does, then I would say yes, he is the John Cena of AEW. But if he doesn't, my answer would be absolutely not. And if I could guess, I could probably think that he's got about maybe a pinky worth of John Cena. A pinky, maybe, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
All right. Well, Gabe, what do you think?
I'm gonna try and look at it from a different perspective because I feel like Perry hit most of the notes with it, which is that if we're talking on like on paper, no, because it's like unless he's working every single, which I don't know, maybe he is, so I could be wrong as well. But if I want to say more spiritually, does he act like the John Cena of AEW? You know, more so does his character line up, the fact that he's a baby face and that he's kind of stalwart or whatever. So that's the hardest part for me, is that even then I still feel like it's a maybe if you want to be nice about it, because when you look at the Orange Cassidy character just on a fundamental basis, like what the character is, even if you don't fully get it, and I'm not even going to sit here and claim that I fully get it, I just think that I do. But when you look at it on a fundamental level, on the same level as John Cena, I don't know that it lines up with any point of him in his career except maybe the prototype. And I mean, that was like beta version John Cena, essentially. So I guess I kind of want to just piggyback off of what Big Daddy P said, which is that I guess a pinky's worth of John Cena. And does he have the potential to become that level down the line? Yes. But is he there now? No, I do not agree. But to make a long answer short, let's throw it to you, Haas. What do you think?
Yeah, shout out to Herb Simmons. Thanks for checking in. Always love to have you here. But honestly, no. I don't think he is a knockoff John Cena or anything. You know, I personally don't see a comparison between the two of them, really. If you're going to try to compare anybody with John Cena from AEW, you know, I tend to think more of like Max Caster or somebody like that that's coming out, you know, rapping or something, you know, but I don't see a comparison between the two, honestly, in my personal opinion. So,
I mean, look at just his length of service compared to John Cena. It's not even close. I mean, he's been in AEW how long? 3 years?
I mean, and that's even like excluding all the stuff he did in like Chikara and other things like that too. Like that's not even touching Cena. And like, mind you, Cena's career is ending now. So it's like
no. We have a whole nother year.
You know what I mean? Like it's only ending as of this year. This man's been like uninterrupted for how many?
He might outlive Orange Cassidy's career. We don't know what 2025 holds for Orange Cassidy. If AEW keeps going in the way that they are, I don't think they're going to have a show by June. So, I mean, really, it's I don't know. I don't think it's even close.
You know, I can agree with that because, you know, I just heard today that they canceled, what was it, December 12th Collision or something like that.
Yeah, the numbers are rough, man. And the thing is, they're under contract. So if they don't get the numbers or not, they're still going to have there's a contract involved. So
yeah, because they only sold like I think it said something like 1,200 tickets, 1,300 tickets, something like that, and a venue that holds like 15,000 people. So they were canceling the show, and I was like, wow, I've never heard of a show being canceled like that. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. So I could agree with you that if they it's strange to say something
Good
like
question.
that. It's there. So, and yeah, honestly, I don't think any of the three of us here are the ones that posed that question. But so I
I'm gonna
couldn't
say
answer that.
those were not words that I chose. And I like Cassidy, but I don't know that I'm making that comparison.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
just competing with the randomizer gave us.
that would be something for Mr. Skywalker, I believe. But you know, um,
or even just Renee himself to continue commenting and make his point, and we'll figure it out. Or get on and say your point and get out. If you can't be on for long, come on now. Because if he's got the context, I'm willing to listen. I'm wide open.
so all right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this randomizer again and see what we get this time. And if the ones in the back would like to bring up the question like they did last time, that would be awesome. But I'll go ahead and hit the randomizer and see what we come up with first here. So it's Raw and SmackDown. Let's see. What is the question on that one? WWE has recently been recording multiple shows in advance, which has been leading to a rise in the spoilers. What is your take on this shift? That's an interesting one. I know that last night's Monday Night Raw was taped, and not this Friday, but next Friday, SmackDown is taped. And they say it so that they can spend time with the families for Thanksgiving, which I think that's great. I mean, that's something you didn't see quite as much in the McMahon era. You know, they didn't seem to worry about, well, we got this holiday, let's not have a show the day after Thanksgiving so that the people can spend time with their families. No, they flew them all the way across the country so that they could have a show. So honestly, I think it's great that they're deciding to give more time to the wrestlers with their family. The downside becomes, though, the fact that you do get more spoilers. I mean, because I was seeing the pictures of Rhea Ripley coming out right after Monday Night Raw a week ago. So I already knew that Rhea Ripley was coming out on Monday Night Raw. And I had already seen posts talking about, what she was going to do when she came out. And so, the whole show was kind of spoiled because it had all the mystery and mystique had been taken out by the spoilers. So that's something that I'm not sure that there's a way to put a stop to, just because of the fact that, there's going to be a crowd there when they tape it. Otherwise, you're not going to tape in an empty studio. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to go back to COVID era, so
I don't think any of us want to go back to the Thunderdome. Let's leave that in 2020 where it belongs.
Otherwise, we'll get stuck with Roman Reigns again.
So, Gabe, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, in defense, I don't even know that I want to defend this as much as I want to say that I lucked out in that I managed to stay off of social media long enough to avoid the spoilers. I basically got a video from my buddy Charles on Messenger as it happened. So I essentially managed to keep my head down long enough. So I mean, as far as, bringing it back to what you were saying, that if this is for stuff like, getting the shows out ahead of time so that wrestlers can come back, to hang out with their families for a holiday, then absolutely. It's like, there's not really much you can do about it. I guess the way I want to look at it is, are you really saying that your spoiler-free Raw is more important than somebody going home and spending time with their children? Like, they're just like, oh no, I had Rhea Ripley's return spoiled for me. How dare you? you're gonna enjoy your Thanksgiving in the face of my wrestling. So I mean, as for that, I mean, my best advice for people is just stay off of Facebook. I mean, if you know that it's being recorded in advance, then just keep your head down and turn your social media off, and hopefully just make sure that nobody spoils it, because this is the internet, and it takes less than 12 hours for people to post things. But as far as it happens, spoilers for wrestling have existed forever. So I don't know that we're going to avoid this problem, or that there's a sure fix it for it. But as far as it affecting me, not really. But also, I'll be honest, I'm not the best person to ask for this, because I've been kind of mellow on my Raw and SmackDown recently. So anytime I get it's not really a spoiler to me. It's just what's happening in the show. I'm like, oh, cool. But that's just me.
And stay off of social media. What are you trying to do to us, Gabe? Life comes to an end. The world would end if we don't get on social media. Social media is everything. We didn't hear you, Gabe. You're muted, Gabe. You're muted, Gabe.
But your mustache looks good. Let's get our priorities in line.
All right, Big Daddy, what's your thoughts here while Gabe mimes what he's doing?
It's temporary. First of all, just remember they're going to 3 hours, both shows starting in January. So this is just they're ending one chapter, going on to the next one. And keep in mind, Raw's been on for over 40 years. SmackDown's been on every week for 25 years. So if just towards the end of this year, they have to make some adjustments to make up for preparing for what needs to take place down the road. Remember, they're 3 months in already. So they're focusing on things that we don't even know exist yet. So personally, I don't care. The only time this happens to be an issue seems to be is when I can't catch a pay-per-view. Then I purposely won't watch on social media. I'll stay off so that it doesn't interfere. But at the same time, too, if you think about what happened with Netflix and the buffering signal that kept showing and no one got, I think it's just the air's way of getting us back for having good programming this whole year, and we needed really to be shaken up. But I don't think it's a big deal. It'll be over. We'll blink and we'll forget about it. They'll 3 hours of each. They'll be bitching about 3 hours now of each show, complaining that it's too long, complaining that it's too live, complaining that spoilers are still going out because people won't shut the hell up. Yeah, people are under contract who are breaking contracts because of it, and it's hurting their career. And that's why being a WWE superstar isn't just what you do in the ring. It's what you do behind the scenes. It's what you do behind the camera. It's what you do in the hotel when you're in between shows and you're meeting people and people are coming up to you. These are the things that matter, not necessarily just the recording issues. Because in the end, if they went into WWE to get a break, they're in the wrong company.
Can you guys hear me now? I want to make sure.
Yep.
Yes, now we can hear you.
And I wanted to add to what you were saying, Big Daddy. And not to mention, fans themselves are just going to go out of their way to find stuff either way. Like, even if WWE goes out of which, granted, WWE is really good about trying to hide stuff if they really want to. But let's not forget, remember, they didn't even air Kevin Owens turning heel on Cody Rhodes, and fans still recorded it because they knew they were going to show it. Like that, so that's the thing. I feel like it's intrinsically linked with fan mentality, which is that there's a significant amount of people who just don't care about not spoiling it. They're like, I don't care. I'm spoiling this for everybody else.
Yeah,
it's
Gabe,
called. I'm going to call 2025 kayfabe 2.0. There's going to be a shift, so I'm ready for it.
Yeah, Gabe, your all your technical problems, Jimmy Harris says that's social media attacking you.
All right, gentlemen, please forgive me. Mrs. Hartman made some tacos that are calling my name. And if I don't do my homework, my home won't work. So I will see you guys, what, a week and a half?
Yep.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay, I'll see you then. Love you guys. Again, if any of you have any prayer requests or need anything, call Perry at paintersdream.com. That's my email. Call my cell phone, 931-304-1359. In the meantime, keep rocking and rolling, and I love you guys.
All right. Big Daddy P, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Big Daddy.
Want to take the opportunity. You never have to apologize for tacos, man. Come on. That's priority. Even above this show, and I know Night Owl will be on my side when it comes to that. But
oh, yes, definitely. You know, tacos are the thing, man. All right. So let's go ahead and hit that randomizer and see what that's got for us on this one. Ooh, Survivor Series. It's the men's match. So it looks like Seth and Bronson Reed could be joining the Bloodline War Games match. Do they fit well as the fifth member, or who would you rather have seen as the fifth member to the War Games?
you want to take the lead on this one, or should I? Because I feel like we have.
Why don't you go ahead? I took the lead on the last one and Big Daddy before that.
So I'll be the one to say this. You know, I'll be the one to play devil's advocate because I have managed to make my way through some of the forums on Facebook. PU. No, but as far as everybody's opinions on Seth and Bronson. Now, I know some people are kind of they're not opposed to Seth only because of the history with Roman, you know, the Shield, obviously. It's more so Bronson Reed being slotted in there. And in defense of it, there are a lot of people who are, you know, they're checking Bronson Reed's, you know, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Heritage. I guess that he does have Samoan in him. And I phrase that horribly. Point is that they've explained that he slots in with the bloodline, maybe not as a part of the family, but as a part of, you know, the culture, so to speak. And I will be the one to say I'm okay with it even without that explanation. And the only reason why is because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Seth and Bronson are feuding, correct?
Yes.
So for me, this does a good job of Brock, not Seth, will be fifth member. I don't want that. I'm sorry, Susie. But I'll get back to that because I want to finish my thought here. That I think that incorporating a feud between Seth and Bronson creates motivation, and it creates at least enough of an intrigue for the match itself, which is the idea that I like to think that Bronson, you know, kind of vibes with the bloodline because they all have a common enemy, and the fact that they know that Seth is going to be teaming up with Roman. So who does the bloodline recruit? The person that can't stand Seth's guts right now. And that's Bronson Reed. And if you're going to ask for some muscle for backup, especially in a match like this, I'd say having an enforcer like Bronson Reed is not a bad way to go. And I'm just excited for the match itself. Maybe I'm just a very simple person here, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll be the one to say that, like, this is going to be a car crash of a match in the best way possible. Like, it's just going to be nonstop, just Haas fest, everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a hole through the ring again because I love this stuff. So I'm sure everybody has their opinions on what should it fit. Does Bronson Reed actually go for it? But I, as the lone person, just to say, because I know there's somebody that's going to be like, nobody actually agreed with this. I did. So I will be the one to stand up, even if nobody will stand up with me. But Your go, Haas. I'm sorry. I'm just glad to be here tonight.
All right. And shout out to Trenton checking in here. But yeah, I've got to disagree with you. I don't like it at all.
Explain yourself.
You know, I don't like it at all. I mean, honestly, Bronson, I don't see. I mean, his size kind of fits with the new bloodline, but other than his size, I don't see where he fits in with the bloodline that well. And, you know, Seth, Come on, we need somebody stronger than Seth. Um,
Stronger
now-
how? Hold on, I gotta stop you right there. Stronger how? You mean pull? Like as far as like, what is it? Over? Because I don't think you're gonna get much stronger than Seth.
You know, I'm just not much on Seth, to be honest, and I just
Well, okay, then let me throw this at you. Who, aside from Brock, I'm not letting you piggyback off of Susie. Besides Brock, who do you picture that could fit in the slot for Seth?
no,
And don't say Zillafat 2 either. No, Zillafat 2 is not an answer.
I don't think that Brock Fitz should be in there either. Honestly, I think they should have brought at least one of the other family members in to it, because let's face it, there are several other family members out there. So I think one of them should have been brought into it, and I think they should have came in as a face. And I mean, the only reason Sammy fits into it is because he's the honorary Uso. I mean, so that's the only reason he fits in. And I'm not 100% sold on him being in it either. But for the new bloodline, I think The Rock should have been on their team. You know, I honestly do. And I mean, because they're doing the whole heel thing with The Rock again and the final boss and all that. So he would have to be on the new team if he's going to be heel. Because the OG bloodline is all face. You know, people are behind them. So you couldn't bring him in as a face. It would absolutely blow the whole final boss heel thing. So he would have had to be on the new bloodline. And I just think they should have brought somebody else in for the OG bloodline and, you know, kept it bloodline related. I mean, I know, yes, Seth was part of the Shield. And if you're going that way, then let's go really crazy and, you know, let's blow the hinges off of the Forbidden Door and take Sammy out and bring John Moxley over, you know, and reunite the Shield with the Usos if you're going to go the Shield route. But Seth just doesn't do it for me.
I have heard your opinion. I have absorbed your arguments. I still categorically disagree. And
you went silent again.
It's like the bass on my computer. It keeps like jiggling it. I don't know why it keeps working out like that. Anyways, but my point is that this is the reason why I said no Zillafat 2, because I knew you didn't have another one. And the only reason I'm arguing it is because so far, every new member of the bloodline that has come in has been heel. So having a new one come in and be face really throws off the dynamic, which is like, I know you mentioned that about The Rock. This is another thing I want to bring up too. He sure as hell wasn't coming back for this. I'm not saying he's not coming back, period. I'm just saying with the filming of that movie he just did recently, Red Ones, I can't remember because I didn't watch it. But the fact that he was filming that, I was like, I don't think timeline-wise it was going to line up with him showing up to Survivor Series. And I also feel like people are expecting his return, so announcing it ahead of time probably wouldn't do as much. So I feel like they're trying to milk well, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? Of course he's going to show up. They're just not going to tell you. But also, I feel like it's too soon to throw The Rock in to wrench it up just yet. Because right now, the conflict is Roman versus Solo over who's the head of the table, right? You throw Rock in, and it's like, I feel like it creates a kind of trifecta where he's in favor of Solo, but he's better than Solo. So why is he listening to him? And then also that creates another power vacuum because like Jacob is there and we all know he's probably going to turn on Solo after this is all said and done and be like, I'm the real head of the table. Because let's be honest, this man's a monster. And I feel like it throws too many moving parts into something that already has a lot of moving parts as it is, which I'm not saying that throwing Bronson Reed and Seth was obvious or that it makes as much sense as doing that. But I feel like I advocate it because it's simple as saying, well, they're feuding and Bronson has some Samoan heritage. So you can slot it in, especially. And the only reason I'm saying this, especially, is because Tama Tonga and Tongaloa are, I know it's like a blood brother thing. I don't know the specific details of it, but they're related to, I believe it's Haku and not, excuse me. I'm butchering all this and they're going to kill me for this, but it's just, they're not in the same exact like family tree. So it's there, but it's not exact. So I don't really want to sit here and pretend like, oh, well, you know, this person doesn't slot in because they're not related to them. It's like, well, no, neither are Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. They're not related to them either. So where are we drawing straws here? Where are we splitting hairs? But I could probably go off on about this all night. So we disagree, but let's move on because obviously I'm not trying to get heated on camera. But
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hit that randomizer and see what else it comes up with here. NXT 2300. What are your thoughts on the NXT event from the 2300 arena? All right. Well, I guess you started last one, so I guess I'll take this one. Honestly, I did get to watch that. I watched it on. I watched a replay of it. I had recorded it, but I did watch the event from 2300 Arena, and honestly, I did enjoy it. It kind of had the feel of oh boy, why did it just go out of my mind? It's even the what everybody calls the arena. Anyway, it did have the feel of the old group, and they let a lot more slide, and it almost had a pay-per-view type feel to it, at least in my opinion. And I enjoyed it, and I hope to see more matches out of NXT like that.
So I hadn't had the opportunity to watch the event. I did catch the big thing, or at least what I consider the big thing out of what I've seen so far. I thought it was awesome that Nunzio showed up. I thought the timing of that was perfect. I'm really glad that this man could still go. Funnily enough, he actually showed up in an MLW show recently. So it's nice to know that this man's still kicking in 2024. And I thought it was a nice callback. I'll be honest, though, just to give my surface level assessment, because I haven't had the opportunity. I'm only able to look at the card right now. I'm sure the crowd was into it. I'm sure it had a lot of callbacks in terms of what it was doing. I feel like based on what I'm seeing here, only because I'm seeing Nunzio, I'm seeing Rob Van Dam, and I'm seeing Bully Ray. While I do like the attention that it's trying to bring back to ECW, I feel like it's just kind of doing it to cater, so to speak. I don't know that it's capturing that true essence of ECW that it was, I feel like a lot of people thinking that it's doing, just because, well, they brought out the ECW legends, so we're allowed to cheer that. And it's like, no, you should ask to be challenged more. Actually, what did they do that made you invoke ECW besides showing you Rob Van Dam and Bully Ray and Nunzio? But like I said, I haven't seen the show yet, so I don't know that my opinion is worth as much as its weight in gold. However, I believe we have an individual here who has a lot to say as far as this goes. So,
yeah, and see, Gabe, one thing that you did miss, though, is, they did have the one match, that was hardcore. And then they actually told the referees after that, use your own discretion, but don't be hard
So
on
that,
them,
so that
and,
makes
and
it
kind of
okay.
let them go a little further than what they normally would. So,
I mean, are they going to continue doing that every time they go to that arena, or is this just for the night because they know, hey, this is where ECW is held at?
but like you say, let's go ahead and get his comments on this, and let's bring in the one and only Luke Skywalker Roberts, ladies and gentlemen.
Gentlemen, I got to tell you right now, first of all, Gabe, you call yourself the young lion with the old soul. I'm going to tell you right now, if you didn't catch NXT at the 2300 arena, you shouldn't be able to call yourself a wrestling fan. And here's the reason why, my friend.
Out of the gate. Okay.
And Hardcore Hoss hit right on point. The women's match set the tone. Now, a lot of people say, oh, wow, it was a women's match. No, the women went out there and they basically had a mindset of you're going to go out there and you're going to just let it all go. And I think it delivered. I mean, again, having Nunzio and Tony Mamaluke were both there. I think it was kind of fitting that they had them with the Dom and the family. Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, whatever you want to call him. I definitely think he delivered. Nice little touch of having Devon join him out there. Really wished I would have seen a true 3D from Bubba and Devon, but again, to each their own. RVD, again, really wish I would have seen him more other than just a show up and kind of make a statement. Overall, I think I really enjoyed the show. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, make it a point to do so. We know that Arsene's going to be watching it. Am I right?
You are not incorrect when you say that, but I want to make it towards my point real quick. If this show was as good as you're claiming it to be, would you have as many hangups that you did just now?
That's a very good question, Arsene. I mean, there's a lot of things there, but one of the things you can't change is you can't change the hands of Father Time. And thanks, Jim Harris, the executive director of the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, which you can get your tickets, you can get information on all the great social media outlets. But something, like I said, you can't turn the hands back of time. You can't. And I'm going to tell you right now, and Hoss, you brought it up. And I know our broadcast colleague, Nightmare Jones, would probably agree with me. I would say probably Big Sexy Chris Rodell would agree with me. The referees are told to enforce the rules. But there's just something about the ambiance of being in that building and the reputation of things that had happened in that building. And like I said, I would have been, and I mean, again, I'm a very straightforward referee, but I think I would have been a little more, how you say, relaxed. Because the other thing I look at is they are a very bloodthirsty crowd. And if you make a mistake, they're going to let you know that. And just to give you an idea, Zilla Fatu, another one of those, and Arsene, I think you're going to agree with me here because I know you're already in a foul mood because I kind of chastised you earlier. If you haven't seen Zilla Fatu, you definitely need to be putting this man on your radar. He's going to be a huge star in the world of professional wrestling.
See, that's just to throw it out there because I had an answer to this if it wasn't Zilla Fatu because I feel like his name has been in the rumor mill recently. So everybody, the few people that don't actually keep up with him are pretending like they've heard of him before. So for me, who actually knows what's going on with these people and their individuals, if I had to choose somebody that wasn't him, because that's the name that everybody's throwing out there, I would have said Hikuleo. But that's just me.
And again, that's one of those two when you look at it, and I know, guys, we probably are going to talk about this in the days and the weeks to come. We're going to kind of take a little detour here of sorts, but kind of along the same lines. You talk about wrestlers like Zilla Fatu, Hikuleo, among others. What are your guys' thoughts on the idea of all people, Bronson Reed being the fifth member of the new Bloodline, I guess, tag team for War Games?
Well, you can tell us what you think. We just answered that question.
Hey, you know something? I got to tell you right now, I still think there's a lot of people that could be in the mix, but when it comes down to it, I'm just looking forward to having a great wrestling match and seeing what's there. And thank you, Assad, for bringing that up here. An opportunity to not only that one, but CCW when they paid tribute to, I believe, Rick Rude when he passed away, or no, it was Eddie Guerrero. And they basically, Eddie Kingston just went off, and it was one of those, definitely one of those. You gotta go there and look at it because, yeah. But I mean, again, from top to bottom, I think it was a really great showing from NXT. Do we expect it every week? No, but is it nice to see it once in a while and let the wrestlers kind of be themselves and kind of go a little bit farther out on the edge? Yeah, I think so. So, because I can tell you right now, man, I am beyond psyched up. Our guest is going to be here, and I'm looking here at my timer. We got about 7-8 minutes till they're going to be here. And I'm going to tell you, I am beyond psyched up. This is an interview that I have just been chomping at the bit to be a part of. And again, I want to give you a special shout out to you guys for letting me join you here this evening. And again, hashtag WTP, hashtag SICW. We're going to be talking all things SICW here in just a few minutes as we go into a landmark match in the history of SICW here in just a few minutes with whether you call him Night Train or you call him Gorgeous Gary Jackson. One thing is for certain, the dynamic of SICW will be changing this Saturday, just like it changes here every time we get a question on the High Spot segment.
So, Luke, since you're here, we actually had this question earlier, and I believe that you submitted it, and we were discussing it, and the Night Owl asked for context on this question. So let's throw this question back up here.
Ooh.
So the Night Owl wants some context on this question.
Well, here's what I've seen in a handful of media interviews. Many people have said that Orange Cassidy is the John Cena in the idea that you associate that face with the brand. And I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people who would put a Chris Jericho, an MJF, any one of the four pillars, Britt Baker, among others. But I got to tell you, with the Young Bucks kind of taking time away, with the illness to Kenny Omega, and again, shout out, hope we can see Kenny Omega sooner rather than later back inside the squared circle. But right now, it's one of those where Orange Cassidy doesn't want to be the face of AEW. And I'm going to tell you right now that when it comes down to it, I could see it. But it's definitely, it's one of those things where John Cena kind of took it and ran with it. I think Orange Cassidy is just kind of, and I mean, again, that's what's there. I would honestly say right now, if you're going to talk about somebody who potentially could be the face of AEW, doesn't necessarily have to hold the championship, but somebody that if you see their face, you know, boom, that's AEW. I got to say Orange Cassidy is your guy.
See, now I'm going to give you grief. You muted your microphone.
It's not me this week. Woo!
But yeah, when we talked about it earlier, we just weren't sure of the context behind the question. And so Night Owl had actually asked in the comments, can we get some context behind the question? So I was like, well, you have to ask Skywalker about that one. So
Hey, I'm always
came in,
I'm always keeping at the top of the game, guys. As the Night Owl says, I'm keeping it 100 each and every time I step behind this microphone here on the Russell Talk podcast. Now, guys, I got to ask you something here. I've been counting the minutes, and I know I'm gonna act like, and this is gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna be like, this is Christmas morning to me. Is our guest ready?
no, he's not backstage.
Man, I am so psyched up, man. I mean, I gotta tell you right now, if I could just bottle up this energy, I think I would go for a month. I'm like the Energizer Bunny right now, man. I am just so psyched up. But guys, I gotta tell you right now, we're talking about things. We're talking about the idea that War Games is not that far away. And I just want to throw this one out here. And again, I know that it very well could have been talked about in the first hour. And again, if it was, I apologize. I was tied up taking care of business here for the program. To me, watching Raw last night, why to me did Rhea Ripley's return last night totally take away from the women's match for me? I don't know what it is. Just something about Rhea coming back. I know she had a pretty nasty injury. Why do I feel almost let down here with her coming back?
Well, that's a good
I mean,
question.
were you? I guess just to throw it out. Sorry to cut you off, Haas. I guess I just have to ask: what were you expecting in a big way? Like, I mean, would you say it's the segment itself that bothered you, or just the fact that you feel like she overshadowed them?
I don't know. It just, I mean, was it great to see her back in a ring? Yeah. I mean, hands down, I would say that she's, I dare say, the face of the women's division. I would say probably one of the top 5 faces of the WWE right now. She's way up there on the list in popularity. But, I mean, again, you see this unit that came to the ring, but they're going to be facing. I mean, it really strikes me more along the lines of, and again, just food for thought. Why don't you give us a Charlotte Flair? Why don't you give us something that's not going to be your traditional expected re-answer? And I gotta say, in the case of the WWE, they've been doing pretty good with that lately, of kind of shaking things up at the last minute. But I think this one, I mean, hopefully next Monday proves me wrong and it lights a fire under him. But there's something about it really just kind of didn't sit there.
The only thing I have to retort to that, and I will lend it to you, Haas, I apologize, but the only reason I have to say about that is that while I do agree that sometimes the unexpected nature of wrestling is appreciated, sometimes something feels the way that it does because that's the answer. Even if it is obvious, it's because that's the way you should go. Because admittedly, a Charlotte return would be different and it would be interesting. But as somebody who loved the crap out of that segment and the 2 seconds of her screaming War Games before she clocked her in the head with a headbutt, I was all about it. So, I mean, and then I figured it wraps up. I feel like it puts a nice little bow on the storyline that's going on with Liv Morgan right now, because Lord knows everybody wanted somebody to punch her in the mouth after she was taunting them. So, and one last thing just to move on, because I've heard a lot of people talking about it. While yes, the undashing Cody Rhodes comparison is there with the whole facial reconstruction mask. I can't talk tonight, apparently. A lot of people are suggesting that maybe she should paint it black. And my only argument as to no, she should not be doing that is because you're going to turn it from undashing Cody Rhodes into 1990s Undertaker. You guys remember when Yokozuna broke it and he had the Phantom of the Opera mask? You want Rhea Ripley looking like that? No, you don't. So shut up.
You know,
All right,
I'm gonna counterpoint that. Sonya Deville.
All right, well,
Here's your
Luke,
thought there.
let's leave that right there because you were talking about things being letdowns. You know what is not going to be a letdown tonight, and that is our interview with our guest who is backstage. So I believe he is ready to go.
All right, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. This one has just got me beyond excited. And Wrestle Talk family, I got to tell you, this is an interview that has been weeks, if not months, if not years in the making. The man we're going to get to speak with momentarily has been around professional wrestling an unprecedented 40 years. A man that when I first started in the wrestling industry was a man that I could look up to. And I'm gonna share a little story here. I know we're gonna have our guest here in just a moment. I had an opportunity a couple years ago to go to the Cauliflower Alley Club with our good friend Dr. Drew Abbenhouse, and of course the one, the only, the Night Owl Renee Martinez. And I have been over the course of my career on many events with Gary Jackson. And I'm gonna tell you right now, having 30, 45 minutes in the Las Vegas airport at like 5 a.m. in the morning, we're both completely worn out. We've experienced a ton of things in the world of professional wrestling. And to have the opportunity to sit down with the gorgeous one, the Night Train, Gary Jackson, and talk, I mean, it just really reaffirmed not only my drive in the world of professional wrestling, but it also cemented the reputation in my eyes of Gary Jackson. If you're going to look at somebody who definitely needs the name, and again, I know we talk about a lot of times the man, the myth, the legend, and you throw that at me, and I appreciate it very much. But when you want to talk about a man who really should have the name of an icon or a legend or anything that could be of the highest regard, there is only one man that you can put there. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor, my privilege, and one of the biggest moments of my time involved in being in professional wrestling to welcome here to the Wrestle Talk podcast, the one, the only Gary Jackson.
Rule number one is I'm coming to beat you. Rule number two is I refuse to lose. Rule number three is I will do my best to beat you. And rule number four, if you know it, say it with me. Don't forget the rules.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined right now by the one, the only Gary Jackson. And Gary, I got to tell you right now, we just mentioned it a few minutes ago, you are hands down the backbone, the staple of the professional wrestling scene in St. Louis. And it's an honor to have you here on the program this evening.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the intro. Again, what I do is nothing special. I just enjoy what I do.
Very true, Gary. Very true. Now, for those that don't know a lot about you, like I said, you have had a career that many people in the world of professional wrestling would only dream of. And again, for those who don't know, you were born in New Orleans, Louisiana. And
no, that's a typo on that one.
Okay, we're already right off the bat. We're going 0 for 1. Thank you to the media department for keeping me well informed.
Right.
We're gonna move on though, and here's what we're looking at. Your early career, you were here in the greater bi-state area, and you had a time. For those that aren't familiar, you spent some time early in your career in the greater Kansas City area.
True.
And for a lot of people that don't know, can you explain what it was like, kind of, I want to say cutting your teeth in such a territory when you have people the likes of a Bob Geigel? We know Harley Race had made many a trip through there. What was it like to kind of start off your career and really kind of get your feet wet in professional wrestling in the Kansas City territory days?
Actually, to get to Kansas City, I got to tell a story how I got into wrestling. I decided to get out of the Army in 1983 after watching the NWA out of Atlanta, Georgia. I came back home, started my training at the South Broadway Athletic Club, and ended up in Kansas City 1985.
And Gary, when you talk about, I mean, again, the names that have come through St. Louis and have come through the South Broadway Athletic Club, I mean, that's pretty much a who's who when it comes to professional wrestling. I mean, again, yourself, myself, I mean, we could spend 3 or 4 episodes just talking about wrestlers who had been trained through the South Broadway Athletic Club. Now, as you continue your journey in the world of professional wrestling, I mean, again, it's kind of like you see on the television where you got to go and you got to put all the little pins on the map because you've been all around the world of professional wrestling. But one thing I don't think I've ever heard you to share, and I know you talk to a lot of fans and a lot of wrestlers, and you've shared a large amount of knowledge. When you were growing up and you were first getting into the wrestling industry, who did you look up to? Who are the people that, as some people say, you had the poster on your wall, if you would, when it came to professional wrestling when you were growing up?
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny how you say that. I'm from the Mid-South territory. I was born in El Dorado, Arkansas, Bill Watts territory.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Dallas, Texas Championship Wrestling. And then I moved to St. Louis, Missouri, and I grew up with Wrestling at the Chase. You know, the Ric Flairs, the Bruiser Brodies, the Briscoe brothers. The list goes on and on and on, man. Rufus R. Jones, Rocky Johnson, of course, Bulldog Bob Brown, Bob Geigel. You know, it was just one of those things.
Well, you know, Gary, when we talk about this, I mean, again, those names, and I'll tell you right now, if you haven't had a chance as a wrestling fan to watch any of those individuals, you need to make it a point to sit down, get your history book out, look at your television, and learn, because these men were the pioneers. They were the ones to pave the way for so many wrestlers to come through a variety of different areas to hone their craft and become the wrestlers that many of us grew up watching. And Gary, to know you as long as I have, and the idea of you being all across this country and seeing the wrestlers you've competed against. And I mean, again, you and I have had an opportunity to compete. We've been on events at the South Broadway Athletic Club together. We've been on events at Dynamo Pro Wrestling together. There's been countless different, back in the days of Central Championship Wrestling. I mean, countless promotions. Mm-hmm. And again, to have you on the program tonight and to see all the things that you've accomplished, it's only fitting that tonight we get a chance to talk with you about these things. Now, I'm gonna level with you. You see the gentleman on the screen right now, Gabriel Arsene. He calls himself the young lion with the old soul. And one of the things I tell him is that when you want to learn about professional wrestling, you need to sit down and you need to sit under the learning tree, and you need to take some time and learn from some of the true greats of professional wrestling. And Arsene, much like that, I'm going to hand things over to you, because I know you got a lot on your mind when it comes to talking to the one, the only Gary Jackson here on tonight's episode.
Absolutely. Right. Just want to take the opportunity and thank you for being on the program here tonight, sir. As the young lion with the old soul, I've already understood I got to pay my dues, and that starts with respecting the OGs. So, you know, it stops and starts, especially with gentlemen like yourself. So for starters, thank you for being able to take the opportunity to answer some of my questions.
Not a problem, man.
I wanted to start off by asking, so as somebody who is rather new to your career, I had the opportunity to watch a couple of your matches. Luke made sure to send me some recommendations. I wanted to try and get an understanding. I have to ask, aside from the name Gorgeous, because I can just say, Yeah, you're not a homely looking gentleman, obviously. But I wanted to ask where the name Night Train actually comes from.
Well, it was a football player by the name of Dick Night Train Lane who played for the Detroit Lions. Bruiser Brody grew up in Detroit, and Bruiser Brody had the opportunity to watch me wrestle when he was come in and work for SICW, and he was driving along with Larry Madisick, and they was talking about all the good local talent, and my name came up, and he said that I remind him a lot like Dick Night Train Lane, and that is how I got the name by King Kong Bruiser Brody, Night Train Gary Jackson.
Get out! That's wow. Talk about a name. So this next one I have is a little bit out there. So I was actually looking up some of your matches on YouTube. I found your bout with Razor Ramon, and a bit of a strange question. Top comment. It says Gary Jackson was my elementary school bus driver. We used to think it was so cool that we would see him on TV one day driving us to school the next. So I need to ask you, just if we could get the Wrestle Talk podcast exclusive, were you a bus driver at some point?
You know something? I was, because I was going back and forth, so I needed something to hold me over. And driving the school bus was one of the best jobs I ever had because it gave me flexibility to do my shows if I had to go to Kansas City, if I had to go to Chicago. And of course, we had all the summers off, all the holidays off, because during that time, the territories, they were dying out. So I needed something to hold me over so I could make my shows. And that was one of the best little jobs I had besides wrestling and being in the military.
You heard it here, folks. And I wanted to mention, since I had the opportunity to watch a lot of your matches, and I managed to check the clip with obviously Razor Ramon, but I also saw the match with Rick Rude. And I have to ask you, as somebody who hasn't taken a bump yet in the wrestling business so far, what would you rather take more a second time, a Razor's Edge or that pile driver on the concrete? Because I saw that and that looked nasty. I don't even know how you took that.
Well, you know, one thing about Razor Ramon, to be honest with you, I met him when he was in Kansas City, when he was part of where he had just broken up. Him and Danny Spiver, they were the American Starship. He was a Coyote, you know. But taking that Razor Edge, it's a little scary because it seems like I'm free falling and I can't protect myself. I know in this business you got to rely on the other guys to protect you, but in this particular one, man, I can't protect myself. So to get back to the original question, I can take the power driver because I can protect myself a little bit more better. You know, my neck is stronger. I'm doing neck bridges, all type of stuff like that. So yeah, I would take the power driver any day over that free falling.
I would imagine. I mean, I look back at that clip and it's easy to forget how tall Razor Ramon is.
Yes.
And just to go from like 6 feet to the floor, can't imagine it's a fun bump to take, even if you do it. And just to wrap it up, as the young lion with the old soul, I'm always looking to ask for any kind of advice that I can get. So I guess just to make it simple, sort of a softball question, a T-ball, if you will. You know, what for somebody like me who's trying to get their feet into the business, what's something you would want to leave with somebody like me? A big piece of advice to try to keep my eyes open, keep my head up.
Well, I tell everybody, man, train your butt off. First of all, get to know your history. When I started wrestling, it was a little bit more slower pace. You really can't stop change. But if you understand the history of this business, if you go back into the 30s and the 40s and work your way back up to up-to-date stuff, you'll be surprised what you can learn for us telling stories, doing moves, and then then you can really set yourself apart. Know the card, know the guys in front of you, know their moves. That way, people won't see the same thing back to back. And I think that's where I come in a little bit different from everybody, because I'm a traditional old school guys, and I know a lot of guys before me, man. I mean, everybody's gonna be flying off those top ropes. So just get to know your history from the time it started up to today's events, and just get your style like that.
Well, Arsene, I have to apologize, and Gary, I'm going to apologize to you right now. Can we throw? I can't believe I'm going to say this. I thought we were going to have a nice, peaceful interview 4 days out from one of the biggest matches, actually the biggest match in history, SICW, and Stephen E. has the nerve to pop up here and say, "Are you upset that Herb didn't take the money?"
Who, me?
Yeah, he's throwing this at you, Gary.
Oh, no. We was never ever going to take the money. You know, this right here has come to a full-blown war. We was never ever interested in taking this money. Like we told him once before, you got to go through us and take it, because we're not going to give it to you.
And Gary, I got to tell you right now, the history, the reputation, not only of yourself, but of Herb Simmons of SICW, everything that the promotion has been built on is one of those, the great wrestling promotions can't be bought. They can't be traded. It is a spirit that just goes on. It is a reputation. It is a professionalism. And again, Stephen E. making his appearance, I apologize for that. I don't know why he decided he wanted to make his appearance and try to poke at somebody with the stature of yourself here on this important interview. Hardcore Hoss, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you here. I know you have some questions. I'm going to let you in on something, Gary. Hardcore Hoss and I, we've talked a lot about professional wrestling here in the St. Louis area. He's trying everything he can to come up for the Hall of Fame inductions in June. And one of the things we said is that when it comes to professional wrestling, if you're going to talk St. Louis, Gary Jackson had better be at the top of the list. So, Hardcore Hoss, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you.
Gary, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak with you tonight and to talk with you. So thank you for being here. I know that, you know, you've been a lot of different places when it comes to wrestling, and there's a lot of travel involved and a lot of up and down the road. And you've shared the locker room with a lot of people. What fond memories do you have? Can you tell us any stories of any of the fond memories you have from the locker room?
Well, you know, I always tell people, I get that asked a lot. I always tell people, man, I traveled a lot by myself, and the reason why was, you know, a lot of guys was never ready to go when I say, hey, man, I'm ready to go to Atlanta. I'm ready to go to Chicago. Do you want to go? And for some reason, they couldn't make it. But just being in a locker room with all those greats that's before me, and just sitting in that dressing room listening. Again, you know, I'm sitting up underneath a learning tree from everything from Vince McMahon to Bill Watts to Dusty Rhodes. You know, just getting that knowledge and bringing it back with me, and ensuring it with the boys. You know, I've been blessed to been on the road with some of the best in the business, side by side, riding down the road with the Hercules Hernandez, riding down the road with Rocky Johnson, riding down the road, man, with Rufus R. Jones, you know, the Batten twins, Marty Jannetty. You know, it's just been great. You know, I can't point one finger and say this is best. It's just all been good.
Well, it's really something to hear a lot of the names that you've been up and down the road with, and I'm sure it was something to be, you know, traveling with them and everything, and be able to sit under the learning tree with them. And so, what's some of the best advice that you've gotten throughout your career?
Some of the best advice I got was stay positive, look at your matches, ask questions, and just keep training, and you know, it'll work out. You know,
So and since he popped in here and put a comment in here, what would you like to say to Stephen E. if you were face to face with him right now? What would you like to say?
I would like to tell Stephen E. come Saturday night at the Belleville Fairgrounds. This is our opportunity for him to pack up and leave before he get ran out of town, because that's what's going to happen. SICW is not backing up. We going forward. So he better be ready for a fight.
And actually, he just threw another comment in here that said, if Herb had taken the money, then Texas Curtis Wild and Gary Jackson would have not been burned and injured. Don't you think that Herb Simmons is responsible for your injuries?
No, sirree. We could have took the money and relieved the pain. But one thing about this is, Stephen E., is that pain is temporary. Pride is forever. So that's what's coming to SICW Saturday night. Pride's forever.
Well, you know something, Gary? I want to go ahead, and you brought it up. We're going to talk about this Saturday, November 23rd, Belle Claire Fairgrounds. And again, I have to say here, as you see here, Rough Cut Rick Ruby talking about, I hope I gave you something to think about in our match last weekend. I played dirty, but these guys played dirtier. And I mean, when you look at the team that Devastation Incorporated is bringing forward to the Belle Claire Fairgrounds, you have Attila Khan, a man that you are no stranger with at all. I mean, he is the international bounty hunter. And he's bringing Meng and the Barbarian to be alongside of him. I just got to ask you, Gary, I mean, you and I have been at a lot of events. How do you prepare for the firepower that Stephen E. is bringing forward this Saturday night? Because I'm just going to level with you. I've seen a lot of great wrestlers walk in SICW, but this is almost a dream team that you're going to be standing up against this Saturday night.
First of all, I have been in the ring with all three of those guys, so that's nothing new. Physically, I'm ready to go. And as we get closer to that date, my mind is getting stronger. I'm getting excited. I'm getting ready to go because there's no turning back. The deal has been signed. It's going to be a winner. It's going to be a loser. And SICW is coming to take care of business.
Very true, Gary. And when you look at this too, I mean, again, you have no slouches beside you too. And I'm a level with you. When I was a kid growing up, and again, you and I mean, you got to achieve a lot of the things that I could have only dreamed of. But the two men that are standing alongside you, that are going to be standing right alongside you on the field of battle, are two men that very much are at the very tip top when it comes to St. Louis professional wrestling and the history of this industry. I'm talking about Danny Boy and Ron Powers. Now, for the fans that aren't necessarily familiar, you haven't always seen eye to eye with Ron. You haven't always seen eye to eye with Danny. But I'm going to tell you right now, with the three of you coming together, and you haven't, I was made aware that you got Cowboy Bob Orton, who's going to be handcuffed to Stephen E. I got to tell you, Gary, this is a matchup where, as you said, there is no tomorrow. Winner stays. Losers got to go home. And I'm going to tell you, this has not been just, as you said, this hasn't been a week or a month. This has been, what, almost 2 years now?
Yes.
That Stephen E's been poking his nose in SICW business?
Yes.
And when you look at it right now, I mean, again, this is one of those, if you haven't bought your ticket, Belle Claire Fairgrounds this Saturday night, 6 o'clock doors open, 7 o'clock bell time. Make it a point, 200 South Bell East in Belleville, Illinois. You can get advance tickets, reserve your tickets, 618-286-4848. Now, I do want to take a minute here, Gary, and I want to talk to you about something that I know is very near and dear to you, and that being the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Mhm.
And first of all, the opportunity of being recognized as a 2024 Independent Wrestler of the Year. And my question to you is, you were talking earlier about history. You were talking about the tradition and being there and listening to those that have paved the way. Can you give us a little bit about how it felt to be recognized after 40 years of plying your trade all across the world for your peers, your compatriots, the people you've traveled up and down the road with, to recognize you with such a high recognition?
When I was first told about the award, I told my wife to pinch me to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The closer I got to that date, the more excited that I got. When I was on stage, I couldn't believe that it was actually happening to me because, I got into the wrestling business because I love it. I enjoy it. And that was my reward, to be part of a group of guys and girls, man, that just have, that go out and do stuff like that. So to actually get that award, I finally accepted the fact that I deserved it. And it was just a great feeling to be there with a lot of my friends, my wife, and I wish you could have been there. But it was just a great overall feeling to get that award.
And something, Gary, one thing I want to look at here, and I noticed it on the promotional posters, and I've noticed it for years upon years, is your business and personal relationship with SICW promoter Herb Simmons. For those that had the opportunity to see, I do believe that Herb had the opportunity to say a few words before you received your award. You've been around the St. Louis scene a long time. And my question to you is, can you give us a little bit about what your thoughts are of someone like SICW promoter Herb Simmons, somebody who, like yourself, has spent so many years in the wrestling industry? Can you give us a few words about Herb Simmons?
Well, Herb Simmons has always been honest with me. Herb Simmons gave me an opportunity to come work for him when I was starting out at South Broadway. Again, we had a bunch of guys down there, but he picked me out. And since day one, we have always been together. And he has always been a man of his word, his honor. And he has always tried to bring in different names to mix up the roster, even guys with a name, even with guys who just starting out. It's just been a plus being in his locker room and being around Herb Simmons and his wife.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, Herb has always been a longtime friend of the Wrestle Talk podcast. He's been a longtime friend to a lot of people in the world of professional wrestling. I'm going to tell you right now, when we had the opportunity to be in Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club and having the opportunity, again, I'm just a guy. I'm going to level with people. I'm just a guy from Collinsville, Illinois, who's had the privilege of being in the professional wrestling industry for as long as I have. But having the opportunity to sit and talk with Herb and being able to sit at one of Herb's tables and to have the opportunity to talk to such great people, and just the idea of how much Herb, yourself, I know Big Texan was there, Curtis Weil was there. There were a lot of people who genuinely love this profession that we're in, the sport of professional wrestling. And again, I would be remiss if we didn't had mentioned Herb about this. Now, one of the things, and I'm going to take kind of a little bit of a, not necessarily a funny thing, but something that a lot of people might find a little bit unique. One thing that I've always felt that sets Gary Jackson apart, and I got to ask you, we had earlier on, both in the promotional video and right before you came on air, can you give us a little backstory about one of my favorite things in the wrestling industry and talk to us a little bit about the origin of the rules?
The rules is nothing new. I think Classy Freddie Blassie had something like that, and I kind of took it and put my spin on it. Because at one time, I was a bad guy or a heel, or I wasn't too popular with the fans. But however you said it, I just switched the rules around so it'd be Gary Jackson's way. So, and that is how I became up with the rules. And I promise the next time we talk, I'm gonna get what Freddie Blassie said, and then I'm gonna put my little spin on like I do now.
Well, you know something, Gary? I've got an opportunity. I've heard it at South Broadway Athletic Club. I've heard it at East Carondelet Community Center. I even had one doing my research. Another friend of the show, you getting to talk about the rules with the one, the only Mr. Wonderful himself, Rock Riddle.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one's been out there as well. But I mean, again, when it comes down to it, guys, I mean, Gary Jackson is one of those men. Again, 2017 Hall of Famer, Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. I mean, again, when you talk about Hall of Fame wrestlers and you talk about truly Hall of Fame people, Gary Jackson is one of those guys. I mean, I have, in all my years, Gary has been the epitome of class. He's been the epitome of professionalism. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night, Gary Jackson's going to get him some of Devastation Incorporated. Gary Jackson and Ron Powers and Danny Boy are going to go out there and they're going to take care of business Saturday night. Mm-hmm. You got to be in Belleville because when you're there, these three men are carrying the banner for SICW. Mm-hmm. These three men are setting the standard. And as you see here, if he made a mistake, he'll live by it. My trust and faith is in SICW, the All-American team of Powers, Jackson, and Danny Boy. You can't be any clearer than that, my friends. Make it a point. 286-4848. It's area code 618 to get your earlier tickets here. The Sam Muchnick Award, when I forgot about that, Herb, and I apologize, as a part of the second annual WrestleFest that SICW put on at the Aviator Hotel. This man, his pedigree is long. But when it comes down to it, Gary Jackson, the Night Train, the gorgeous one, whatever you want to call him, is a man's man. And this Saturday night, you need to be in Belleville because this guy right here, just like his team, his All-American team, as promoter Herb Simmons has said, is going to handle their business this Saturday night. And Gary, before you go, I have one last thing that I need to ask you. After this Saturday night is over, and just I got to be objective here. This Saturday night, hopefully, after you and your tag team partners give a beating to Devastation Incorporated, when you come back here to the Wrestle Talk podcast, we need to make it a point that we have, I'm going to say it right now, I think we need to have Gary Jackson Appreciation Night here on the program. I really do, because Gary has done so much for professional wrestling, not just in St. Louis, but around the area. And again, it is an honor and a privilege to say that you're a good friend of mine. You have given me wisdom. You've given more wrestlers than you can ever count wisdom. And again, I'm looking forward to this Saturday night in Belleville. Arsene Hoss, I know for a fact that Mr. Jackson's time here is running pretty close. Do you have any final thoughts before we let Gary go here this evening?
I mean, just to, add to what Luke was saying. I mean, thank you for the opportunity. As I know I pride myself on calling myself the young lion with the old soul, but you don't get an old soul unless you're hanging around old souls. And I feel like I get that vibe from you. I apologize.
No. Arsene, he's not old. He still goes in the ring and he can still wrestle circles around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It goes without saying. But I just, to add on to it, but to thank you, for the wisdom, for the foresight, or the forethought, the foresight to be able to, no doubt be able to move forward in my wrestling career, to be able to hold on to that piece of advice and, hold it dear and hopefully do right by you. I hope to do right by Gary Jackson's rules and, be right there with the Nitro at some point. So,
hey, never stop learning. Just keep watching your tapes, getting advice, man. Just take a little bit from everybody, man, and just put your own little spin on it.
With guests like you on the Wrestle Talk podcast, I plan to. So thank you.
Okay.
All right. Haas, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just want to thank you for coming on. And, as I said before, it's a privilege and an honor, to have someone with your stature here on Wrestle Talk podcast. And, just best of luck to you in your upcoming match. And just look forward to getting to speak with you again sometime. So, hopefully you will make the return to Wrestle Talk podcast and talk with us again sometime.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the Night Train, Gary Jackson, just 4 nights out from the biggest match in the history of SICW, the All-American team, Gary Jackson, Ron Powers, and Danny Boy, taking on Devastation Incorporated of Attila Khan, the International Bounty Hunter, Meng, the Barbarian, Stephen E., the leader of Devastation Incorporated, handcuffed to Cowboy Bob Orton. I mean, again, you can't go wrong. This Saturday night, Belle Claire Fairgrounds, 6 o'clock doors open, 7 o'clock bell time, 618-286-4848 for advance tickets. You're going to want to make sure to get them, as you're going to see wrestling history take place this Saturday night in Belleville, Illinois. Gary, on behalf of the Wrestle Talk podcast, we want to thank you for coming on the program. And officially we can say, and I can't believe I get to say this, you are now officially a member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, my friend.
Hey, one last thing before I go. Can I have one last word?
Gary, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. Stephen E., rule number 1 is we come to win. Rule number 2 is we refuse to lose. Rule number 3 is we're going to beat you. And Stephen E., rule number 4 is the most important rule of them all. Don't forget the rules. Because nothing stops the train at SICW. All aboard the Night Train.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Jackson here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Guys,
do you see how hard I'm smiling right now, man? Come on. That was awesome.
I can't contain my excitement, gentlemen. I mean, again, this is what it's all about. And again, you got to look at it. It's 2+ years in the making. And as Gary said, it's all or nothing. A win, SICW stays under the management and guidance of Herb Simmons. I don't even want to imagine what happens if Stephen E. can do the unthinkable. Don't even want to think about it. Because if Stephen E. gets that one chance, I mean, again, he talked about it when, I don't know who was it, Hoss? I know it wasn't you because you were taking care of things back then. I know what you were doing. I know that our team was talking with Gary Jackson. I know I was talking with Gary Jackson. What member of our team let that message get through? Because, we were trying to have a very important conversation. And out of nowhere, Stephen E. has got to put in his 2 cents.
I don't know who let the message through, but things slip through sometimes. I don't know. I think there's gremlins or something in the system.
Well, you know something, Hoss. I mean, again, the only way you're going to be able to tell, hands down, and thank you, Herb. Again, I want to apologize, Herb. I don't know how Stephen E. got through. And again, it's old school wrestling. And that's exactly the point, is when you go this Saturday, you buy a ticket for SICW at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds. You are going to have a great time. And again, this war has been going on for 2+ years. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, you see the team for Devastation Incorporated. I'm going to tell you right now, the team that's assembled, I don't think anybody stops them. I really don't. These three men could be on the top of the world in professional wrestling basically for as long as they want to be. But the only way we're going to find out is to be in Belleville Saturday night. Now, gentlemen, it's been a great show. It really has been. But before we go, and since we have just a couple minutes, I think it's time for something that I don't think, have ever had here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And I'm going to throw it out there right now and see if the young lion with the old soul, with the man who calls people Jeremy Lightweight, the man who made it a point to call Gary Jackson old. I mean, come on, Arsene. I'm going to tell you right now, the man next to you, he's holding championship gold. He's got it on his shoulder. We all know full well, I don't see any championship gold on your shoulder right now.
It's heavy.
You're
It's called
holding
carrying
the belt.
company.
Well, you know what? Tell you what, gentlemen, let's throw it out there right now. Tonight, right here, Wrestle Talk Podcast. I know at Hardcore Hoss, I think we got a little FWWC business to take care of. But before we do that, let's have a little bit of an FWWC related game show challenge between Gabriel Arsene and Hardcore Hoss. We got Susie Hoss in the house. Gentlemen, I'm going to put it out there. Hardcore Hoss, are you up to the challenge?
Hey, I'm always ready for a challenge.
Arsene, are you ready for the challenge?
I was born ready.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead real quick here, and we're going to have, I think it's a first time ever matchup right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. So let's go ahead and hit that graphic for the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls, and it will feature from the FWWC Gabriel Arsene and the one, the only Hardcore Hoss. Now, gentlemen, I'm not going to spend tons of time talking about the rules. I'm not going to do any of that because Gary Jackson already took care of the rules tonight. You know how it is. Again, it's best 2 out of 3 falls. What we're going to do here tonight, since we all like to be behind a microphone, since we all like to be able to talk about pro wrestling, and yes, Arsene, you can hide behind a microphone. I'm very proud there. Now, as we look at things right here, tonight's category is going to be pro wrestling announcers. These are individuals who have spent time behind a professional wrestling microphone. And you're right, Assad. We have to follow the rules. We know the Hardcore Hoss will. Not sure about Arsene, but we'll see. So, at this point, gentlemen, are you ready? All righty. Here we go with question number 1. This individual is a WWE Hall of Famer. However, he spent plenty of time in the WCW behind a microphone and as a manager of the Diamond Mine. Name him.
I'm scared to answer. I know I can answer more than once, but if I don't know it. This is
WWE Hall of Famer, spent time in WCW, behind the microphone and the manager of the Diamond Mine.
I don't want to say Bobby Heenan because I know that's not right.
No?
That's what I was
Let me get
thinking
it.
too.
Oh boy.
You know what, guys? This isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. He drove a pink Cadillac to WrestleMania 6 for Rhythm and Blues.
Bubba Love?
No. His wife was at one point his valet. He's known for the accountability crib. He's known for the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts. He's known for this.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Dallas Page.
Hardcore Hoss finally getting the first
He was
fall.
an announcer?
Yes.
How was I
He
supposed
spent-
Okay. That's why
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to warn you, if you need to go ahead and get something to drink, you need to get a cold beverage, if you need to take a restroom break, it's okay. It's going to take a while with what's here. Gentlemen, are you ready for the second fall?
Sure.
As ready as can be.
All right. Here we go. This individual is known for his time behind the microphone, but he's also known for his time in TNA, in Ring of Honor, in the WWE,
Cornette.
and most recently as a part of the Battle Royal in AEW in London. Name him. He is a former ROH World Champion.
Oh God, Nigel McGuinness?
That is correct. The
Yes!
second ball goes to
huge nerd.
Gabriel Arsene. At this point, it is one fall apiece. Gentlemen, are you ready for the third and deciding fall?
Let's go.
All right. Here we go. This individual has spent time in countless professional wrestling promotions. He is fluent in not one, not two, but 6 different languages. He spent time in the WWE as a competitor.
Cesaro?
No, but he was probably most well known for being SmackDown's #1 announcer. Name him.
Jonathan Coachman.
No,
Michael Cole. I'm just going down
No.
the line.
he was a part of Kai and Tai.
Oh, Funaki. Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of tonight's WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge is the one, the only, Gabriel Arsene. And Arsene, be proud you didn't have your microphone on.
I was waiting for the fanfare. Number 1.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Again, the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, always delivering some great, memorable moments here on the program. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to level with you. Tonight has been a great show. We've still got a little more business to take care of. And you know what, guys? I want to say thank you for letting me join you for a part of this show tonight and making it a point to connect in with the Gary Jackson interview. Again, thank you very much for letting me join you. But before we go tonight, before we get everything done, Hardcore Hoss, I think we got a little bit of business to take care of, a little bit of FWWC business. So at this point, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to tag out. I'm going to go back and stand on the side, and you guys are going to finish it up by talking all things FWWC here tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn things over to my broadcast colleagues, Gabriel Arsene, the one, the only Hardcore Hoss, to wrap up tonight's episode of the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast right here on all these great social media outlets. Gentlemen, have a wonderful evening.
All right. Thank you, Luke. We appreciate
this man
it.
Single-handedly embarrasses us with 3 questions on the podcast and then just dips.
Hey, it is what it is, you know. But, you know, there is a lot going on in the world of the FWWC. And unfortunately, the CEO, Dewan Mills, could not make it tonight. But still want to go ahead and fill people in on what's going on here. We all know that there is a pay-per-view coming up. You know, it's FWWC End of Days. You know, and End of Days is shaping up to be one heck of a pay-per-view. Let me tell you, there's every match on the card is a title match. Excuse me. So let me start with, we have the international title on the line. That's the one and only Susie Haas, Miss Bad herself, will be facing Samel Mayhem. You know, Haas had a match against Marcus at the last pay-per-view. I was able to bring Samel back out of Marcus. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this match turns out. Now, my match with Marcus, you know, there was no winner. So we'll see what happens in this match between Miss Bad Susie Haas and Samela Mayhem himself. Then, of course, we have the Hardcore Championship on the line, you know, between myself, the longest reigning champion, the longest reigning Hardcore champion, I believe the longest reigning champion in FWWC history, period. But I do have to get that confirmed, but I believe I have hit that mark. Versus the one and only Remy Ricks. Now, Remy, he has held this title before. He lost this title in a triple threat match. And, you know, I was involved in that match, as well as Ace, who won this title from Remy. You know, I helped Ace beat Remy, and then I turned around and I took the title from Ace. So now Remy will see if he can get this title back. You know, he's held a few titles since then, and we'll see what happens, but I don't plan on this going anywhere anytime soon. So, you know, we do have that on the card. Then we have Spartan's Heart match. This is going to be a triple threat match where we are going to see the Spartan's Heart champion, Ace, versus one half of our tag team champions, Sick, and our other tag team champion, Lecter. So Ace will be taking on the tag team champions in a triple threat match. for the Spartans Heart Championship. Then we have Saint going to be defending the World Championship against Mobile. So that should definitely be interesting. We will have the Warrior Heart Championship on the line.
Yours truly.
Only Gabriel Arsene versus Daniel Grimm. So Daniel Grimm has held that Warriors Heart Championship before. And, so he tends to fight hard when it comes to that Warriors Heart Championship. Do you have any words on that, Gabe?
All I got to say is, Daniel, I'm waiting for you.
So it's definitely going to be an interesting pay-per-view. But that's not it, ladies and gentlemen. That will be the last pay-per-view for the year for the main roster. I believe after that, the main roster will be taking time off for the rest of the year. However, there is one more pay-per-view for the FED, which will take place December 7th, which will be called Final Stand. And that will be the last pay-per-view, last event for the FWWC for the year. Now, only one match has been announced so far for that, but I have the full card here. And as the admin for the FED, I will be releasing that card right now, as I promised several people that the card would be released tonight. So
Your mic cut out.
can you hear me now?
Yes, you're on the clear.
All right. So let me let you know what's going to take place there. I promised everyone in the FED that this would be released tonight. So, as already announced, you will see a sledgehammer on a pole match between the CEO, Dewan Mills, and a luchador DKC. There's already been a lot of tension between the two of them, a lot of back and forth. CEO lost his last match against Lucha, and Lucha got the sledgehammer, but then Lucha attacked the CEO with that sledgehammer, and CEO wants his sledgehammer back. So
I do want to mention, I think that might actually have to deal with the fact that why Mr. Dewan Mills had the opportunity to make it here tonight. I believe he said something about picking up flannel, but I might have to check up on that.
Well,
and for those who know what that means,
Yeah, and if you don't know what it means, just go check out the FWWC page and check out the last promo by Dewan Mills, and you'll
have a nice day.
So, we have that match on the card. We also have Nathaniel Jones, Mr. Let Me Come Inside You, versus Yoko Kitsune. Yes, the Beacon of Light versus Yoko Kitsune. So that's going to be interesting to see the two of them go at it together, and see if Mr. Nathaniel Jones can take his Beacon of Light and come inside. Okay. Then you are going to see, and I'm sure there's several people that have already thought, well, let's see. We've got 4 of the 6 competitors already announced. So obviously there's only 2 left. So they must be going against each other. Well, you'd be wrong. Because you will see Miss Taylor Marie in action. against a mystery opponent that will be announced at a later date. So, but be ready because you do have a match against a mystery opponent. And then you will see Rage in action also. Not against Miss Taylor Marie, but also versus a different mystery opponent.
Things are shaking up in the FED, ladies and gentlemen.
So it's going to be a tough card there on the 7th. Definitely looking forward to both of these pay-per-views. Stacked cards on both of them. And who knows what will be taking place with mystery opponents at the final pay-per-view of the year. So
a lot of action set for the FWWC. So Haas, just before we end this, I think we have to take care of one last bit of business, and that is
promotional consideration paid for by the following. Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
So, as always, do you mind if I take this one?
Go ahead.
Perfect. So, the Wrestle Talk podcast would like to thank our fantastic sponsors, including Interstate 70 Sports Media, Little Popeye Designs. That's where you can pick up your Wrestle Talk podcast tumbler. The FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. That's where you can find me. That's where you can find Haas. You can be able to check out these matches, come up for End of Days, FED. Give us a shout. You got a chance, you think you can take it from us, give us a holler. But we would also like to thank our sponsors at Retro Zone, Painter's Dream Productions, Big Daddy P. We love you to have you on the program. St. Louis Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Gabriel Arsen. That's been Hardcore Haas, the Warriors Heart Champion, the Hardcore Champion of the FWWC.
Also, don't forget that our sponsors are wonderful. We really appreciate the support from each and every one of them. But you also can sponsor us, ladies and gentlemen. We do have, even if you don't have a business, if you have a business and would like to sponsor us, feel free to reach out. But if you don't have a business, still reach out because we have a brand new fan sponsorship where fans can sponsor the show as well. It's not a whole lot of money to do it. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you set up. We'll get you the details. Right now, Susie Haas is a fan sponsor. We want to thank her for that. And also don't forget not just to share the program, not just to use the hashtags Let's Talk Wrestling and hashtag WTP. Also, you can send us stars, ladies and gentlemen, and that will also help us out and keep Wrestle Talk going by sending us stars from Facebook. So we really appreciate everything that you guys do. We love each and every one of you guys. We'll be back here in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, with another great show for you. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be getting you some information on who we're going to have next. Another great guest, though, I can tell you that much, because we have the most stellar guests around, and we ask some hard-hitting questions and get some honest answers from these people, and it's absolutely great. So don't want to miss that. So any more closing words for us there, Gabe?
I think you hit all the nails on the head, Hardcore Haas. So as always, this has been the Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 503, coming to you from Gabriel Arsen and Hardcore Haas, throwing another one of the record books. Thank you, and have a great night.
That's right.